What's up guys, and welcome to my 4.2 updated Robin guide. Robin is one of the 2 characters getting added to the shop that you are able to use your golden companion spirit on, and today I'm taking you over everything you do need to know in order to understand and build her, including a kit overview, best Lightcones, best Relic Stats and planar ornaments, main stats you want to run, substats to aim for, and then some general team building ideas. Robin's basic attack does physical damage based off her attack to a designated enemy. Her skill increases damage dealt for the team by 50% for 3 turns, with the duration decreasing by 1 at the start of Robin's turn. Her ultimate makes Robin enter the Concerto state, which will make all teammates except Robin immediately take action. In Concerto, all allies' attack will be increased by 22.8% of Robin's attack plus 200, and every time an ally target attacks, Robin will do physical additional damage equal to 120% of her attack one time, with a fixed crit rate of 100% and fixed crit damage of 150%. In Concerto state, Robin will not be able to act and will be immune to crowd control debuffs. A countdown will appear on the action order. When it begins, Robin will exit the Concerto state and immediately take action, and the countdown has its own fixed speed of 90. Her talent increases the team's crit damage by 20%, and when allies attack, Robin will additionally regenerate 2 energy for herself. Her technique creates a special dimension for 15 seconds. Enemies in the dimension will not be able to attack Robin and will rather follow her. Entering battle with the dimension active will make Robin regenerate 5 energy at the start of each wave. For bonus traces, her A2 will advance forward her action by 25% when the battle begins. Her A4 will make the team's crit damage dealt for follow-up attacks increase by 25% when Robin is in the Concerto state. And her A6 will give Robin an additional 5 energy when using skill. For Eidolons, her E1 will increase the team's all-type res pen by 24% when Robin is in Concerto. For E2, when the Concerto state is active, the team's speed increases by 16%, and also the talent's energy regen effect will additionally be increased by 1, so 3 instead of 2. Her E4 will make her ultimate dispel crowd control debuffs from all allies, and will also increase the effect res of all allies by 50% while she is in the Concerto state. And her E6 will make the Concerto state have the crit damage effect that the ultimate does originally have increase for the physical additional damage by 450%, and the effect can only be triggered up to 8 times per ultimate, and the trigger count will reset after each ultimate is used. For best Lightcones, unfortunately to this day she's not working with too many options, but the best one you run is her own signature still. Every time an ally attacks, the wearer gains a stack of Cantillation, which will increase the wearer's energy regen by 3%, stacking up to 5 times. Using ultimate removes all Cantillation stacks and gives the wearer Cadenza, where the wearer's attack will be increased by 48% and damage dealt for the team increases by 24% for 1 turn. Often on Robin's teams you use teammates that do attack pretty frequently, so stacking up Cantillation is just more energy regen to get ultimate for Robin quicker. So outside of ultimate, you're able to generate her ultimate quicker. Once you go into ultimate, you get a big attack increase, which is going to increase Robin's own physical damage and also the buff she gives, since attack buff is scaled off her own, and also some extra damage percent for your team, which does make this an effective Lightcone. The free-to-play alternative for Tomorrow's Journey also does work with 16% attack for the wearer and 18% damage for the wearer when the wearer uses their ultimate for 1 turn. At S5, it's 32% attack and 30% damage. Just like I mentioned with the actual attack buff from her signature, this attack buff is going to further increase her buff and her damage, and the second part is going to increase that physical damage as well, since damage percent buffs do work. And same thing with the signature and this with the 1 turn requirement. Seems small, but once you go into ultimate, your next turn would be when you go out of ultimate, so it doesn't actually matter. So the 1 turn duration doesn't necessarily matter for uptime. So for Tomorrow's Journey is another good free-to-play option. You can also use Bronia's Lightcone for 10% energy regen. Unfortunately, you can't gain the skill point just because she's not using her ultimate on an ally, and then the skill part, you can get it since she uses her skill, so it works, but you're not like action advancing anyone, so it doesn't actually do anything. You're just gonna get the extra damage percent for someone else. It's mainly for the energy regen, and it's also a 5-star that's attainable for a lot of people, so you might have some refinements in it. It also has solid base attack from being a 5-star, so that's also there. So for getting your ultimate quicker and also cycling your ultimate more, it's a good option. A very specific Lightcone is Poised to Bloom, providing the wearer 16% attack. Entering battle, if 2 or more characters follow the same path, the character's crit damages will be increased by 16%, and abilities of the same type cannot stack. At S5, both values are 32%. So you can just use it as an actual attack stat stick, that's also fine. This part is restrictive because it's not just applying to Robin, it's really anyone on the actual team. So let's say you put this on your Robin and you ran her on a team with both Fei Xiao and like Asheville. Both of them actually will get the crit damage increase, so you can get further damage for your team. It's just relatively restrictive. But yeah, if you don't have any other options and you have this one laying around, especially at S5, it is usable mainly for the attack stick and then also the extra crit damage you can can potentially get. Finally, Mesh and Cogs also works since it is giving energy after the wearer attacks or gets hit, additionally regenerates 4 energy, and S5, 8 energy. It just helps you get the missing energy you might need in your rotations and help you accelerate ultimate process. Doesn't provide any buffs for the team, unfortunately, so in that regard, it's going to be weak, but this is kind of like the last option if you don't have any of the other ones available, which shouldn't be true because Poise to Bloom has been in the game for a while, and For Tomorrow's Future is also just free. Rodin's Lightcone is standard, and then Signature, if you don't have that, that's understandable. So you're mainly looking at running But the Battle Isn't Over or For Tomorrow's Journey. For Relic Sets, her best in slot is a 4-piece Wave Shredder. The problem with this set though is it is pretty difficult to use. The 2-piece is more crit damage, which doesn't necessarily matter, but it's for the 4-piece that is able to provide the wearer up to a 48% increase to attack, which is the most attack you can get off a Relic set. The problem is the actual effect needs Robin to be the target of another ally's ability, which will give them a stack of help, so in this case Robin, and you need to do it twice, so you need 2 stacks of help, and then using ultimate will consume both help stacks to give 48% attack. So this is reliant on your team to have some ability to actually target Robin to give her a stack of help, whether that be you single her out for a little bit just for the beginning, or you just have right AoE abilities that do target the team to give her the stack of helps. The entire point is to give her the stack of help to get both, and you also have to wait till you do have both to consume it to get the full 48% attack. If you are able to satisfy the requirements, then this 4-piece is by far her best in slot. However, other than that, you would just literally run 2-piece attack and 2-piece attack. There's no point in running anything else. So you run 2-piece hero with 2-piece wind soaring or prisoner or also just musketeers, as they all provide 2-piece increasing attack by 12%, so you get a total of 24% increase to attack, since the goal with Robin is to just stack as much attack as you can. For planar ornaments, you can give her one of the support sets that do have energy regen or Von Walk. Those are the main ones you do go after. One of the more common ones is Loose Shaka for 5% energy regen rate and 12% attack for the character position first, so you would just have your main attack scaler be positioned first and the main carry of the team to get the best effect. And also energy regen for Robin is also good. On the flip side, Penacony does the same thing, but instead it is 10% damage for the characters that are the same type as the wearer. So in this case, you would have to be running her alongside characters that are physical for them to get the effect. For Von Rock specifically, this also does provide 5% energy regen rate. You also would be required to build her to 120 speed or higher, which you are going to do. We'll talk about it a little more in the actual Relic Stats section, but even if you're not running Von Walk, you're going to be building her around the speed anyways to ensure she's one of the first ones to act in battle. But this one will further ensure the fact that she is going to be the one to act first in battle, since she has her actual A2 that gives her action events upon entering battle, and this, which will practically guarantee that she is the first one to act, which will allow you to throw up her skill, have the damage percent buff active, and then you get to do your things and get her all as soon as possible. However, if you are able to build enough speed to the point where she is able to go first without Von Walk, then of course running something like Penacony or Lushaka would be better. For the main stats on the relics, for the body, you want to run attack percent, for the feet, attack percent, for the orb, attack percent, and for the link rope, most people you will run energy regen rate. But if you are a zero cycler player, then in that case, your whole goal is to kill within that one Robin ultimate, and you are primarily going to focus on attack percent, since the first ult you can get pretty easily without an energy regen rope. So for people that want to kill within the first ultimate and mainly aim for that zero cycle, you would run attack percent rope, but for most, energy regen. For substats, first is to get your speed around 125-ish. That is the goal no matter your build. If you have Von Walk, that should combine with her A2 to give you the first action. Usually always, there's not really a stopping point for speed. You can just get as much as you want, but you actually want to focus on getting it to around the 120 so you can actually act pretty quick in battle. Then you just stack as much attack as possible. Again, there isn't really a limit. Aim to get around 4200 or higher. If you're running an attack percent rope, you're looking at something like 4500 or higher. Really just get as much as you can. That's the only things you want to aim for. You can also get some survivability stats, so HP percent and defense percent, because Robin is pretty squishy from being built on attack. So just on the side, if you do have some survivability stats, that is going to be good. But again, first focus on speed, get it around 120. You could aim for higher than that if you really want to guarantee going first. With Von Walk, you would really only need that 120 goal because you have double the action advance in the beginning of battle. But especially without Von Walk, just get as much as you can, minimum around 125. Then attack as much as possible, and past that, some survivability stats can help. Now for some general team building ideas. Unfortunately, nowadays Robin doesn't have too many spots on teams, but she still is a good slot in for something like a sustainless setup or just a team that at least has good benefits off her attack buff. Just to get the oldest team, which was the most benefited one out the way, that is the follow-up team with Fei Xiao. This is one of the teams to get the most benefits out of Robin, since Fei Xiao does get a lot of buffs out of Robin. So an older team, since the modern one doesn't actually use Robin anymore for an actual slot, would look something like this, with the last slot going to someone like Aventurin. If you don't have have Adventurer available, you can very much use Daneng. He is competitive, if not better, in that slot. So just use whichever one is available to you. If you don't have Cypher in that slot for the follow-up character for Facia, would instead go someone like Topaz or Hunt March 7th. I don't have mine set, so just pretend she's Hunt, or also Mose. So the team would look something like this for Facia's follow-up team. If you are using Asheville, unfortunately, Robin doesn't really want to be in this slot just because you need more frequency for Asheville. However, for Sustain this slot, you can do it because usually you want to have Tribute on this team, so the team for Sustain this could look something like this. For a more hyper carry setup, you can also do something like this. This was one of the generic setups before where you just run both siblings together. The main carry in this case would be a -1 setup. Last slot would go to your Sustain, so now you can choose someone like Donna who works good with Sunday, or if you're doing Sustain this, someone like Tribi. So mainly, you just want to ensure they are getting a big buff out of the attack buff, since that's just the main big buff you are focusing on. Team-wide action advance is good, but her actual buffs outside of the attack buff isn't that good. There's just some crit damage and crit damage dealt for follow-up attack specifically, so outside of the attack buff, there isn't much to offer. Even with an Aglia team, the older core would still be with Sunday, so the team is relatively similar. Again, last slot Sustain, or just Tribi. So mostly is going to be a combination of Sunday Robin, last slot Sustain, or someone like Tribi or Cypher for Sustain the slot-ins. And that is the full Robin 4.2 updated guide. I do hope you found this video helpful. If you did, drop a like, would be greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel or haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all the types of style content. And I'll see you later. Peace out.